Material inlay or marquetry is an art of cutting and putting together different materials to form a picture. But how do we visualize the effects of combining the materials together before we start cutting them? ImagePaint can help us. Let's see how this works. By selecting one or more paths and click on an image swatch, ImagePaint applies that image to the paths, creates duplicate paths, and places them on the image. This image is referred to as the clipper image. At this point, I can move and rotate the paths on the clipper image to achieve the desired effects. But I like to wait until all paths have been applied with images. For me, I need to see the overall view of the design with all the woods in place. I need to see how the wood color and grain combination work together as a whole before I can begin to relocate the clipper path on the image to achieve the desired texture, shadow, or highlight in the scene. It is very important at this stage to visualize which direction the sunlights come from. In this case, I assume the sunlight comes from the upper right corner in the scene. For now, I think I'm done with applying images to all paths, but to make sure, I use the verification panel to check for errors. Here it shows there are still regular paths, which are paths without images. I click this to see what they are and then apply an image to them. Here I want to use a different sheet of rosewood by dragging it into Illustrator. The new sheet is then added to the bottom of the Images panel. To replace the old rosewood image, I select it and then click on the newly added image swatch. When relocating the clipper path on the clipper image, I look for a location that can simulate the ocean waves. And here I'm placing each piece of the lighthouse so that the darker side is to the left. I'm doing the same thing for the roofs on this little house. For the mountain, it would look much better to have some dark stripes at the bottom. So I'm moving those pieces here. Here I'm moving these clipper paths to avoid the black areas that were used in the previous design and trying to use the dark spots on the pimento wood burl to add more characters to the rocky terrain in the foreground. I'm thinking maybe using a darker yellow wood for the lighthouse instead of this dark brown species. That should make it more uniform in terms of color. The windows now look too contrast compared to the rest of the lighthouse. I think I will make them a little bit lighter. I should have added the artist's name before applying the images, but it's not too late. I used the text tool to add her name on top of this piece and then expand the text into paths. Since this path already have an image, I'm removing the image from it and then use Pathfinder tool to punch the text through. Now I use the verification panel to verify the design one more time. There are still a few paths that do not have images applied. Look like the foreground ocean waves need more work. Maybe adding a little more action to the waves since they are closer to shore. Now that looks better. To see how the final artwork looks like, I photograph the wooden plaque and place it behind the design. Sometimes it is better to use darker color at the bottom of a structure, so I'm using a darker yellow wood at the base of the lighthouse.